Hello, this is Father David, here with the second video of the Apostles' Fast 2023. This was the entry for Tuesday, as we play catch-up, the 13th, and from another one of my favorite, truly one of the original books that for me, when I was becoming an Orthodox Christian, was a sort of penny that dropped. It was a moment of realization that I needed to take this faith seriously. And it is from Metropolitan Kallistos Ware's book, The Orthodox Way. And it says this: active life requires on our side effort, struggle, the persistent exertion of our free will. And then he quotes the Lord in the Sermon on the Mount: straight is the gate, small is the gate, and narrow is the way that leads to life. Not everyone that says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that does the will of my Father. Matthew chapter 7, verses 14 and 21. Metropolitan Kallistos continues, we are to hold in balance two complementary truths. Without God's grace, we can do nothing. But without our voluntary cooperation, God will do nothing. Our salvation results from the convergence of two factors, unequal in value, yet both indispensable: divine initiative and human response. What God does is incomparably the more important, but man's response is also required. Now, this is something that in the Orthodox world, and really it's worked its way into the corporate world, the idea of synergy, which really just means cooperation, working together. It is something that within the Orthodox understanding of salvation has been essential. And it's interesting because this was the entry for the 13th on Tuesday, but it was on Thursday of this past week when we celebrated St. Augustine. And St. Augustine, for all of his love for God, held to a view of salvation that was a bit off balance. Like Metropolitan Kallistos says, we hold in balance two complementary truths. And for the Orthodox, St. John Cassian provided that balance between us having to work, having to exert effort, having to deny ourselves, having to take up our cross, having to follow Christ for salvation to take place, but also God having to give his grace for us to do anything. He said to us, without me, you can do nothing. And so the grace of God is required, but so is our voluntary cooperation. And so we have to understand that as Metropolitan Kallistos said, these two factors, these two things that have to be true at the same time. I always tell people, two things can be true at the same time. These two factors, God's grace and our work, they are completely, to say they are unequal in value is the understatement of the year from the good Metropolitan. Because of course God's grace is infinitely greater than any effort, any fasting that we might give during these days of fasting. Yet they are both indispensable, you see, as the Metropolitan says. In other words, just because something isn't the most important thing doesn't mean it isn't also very important, and something that we should do, something that we must do as a part of our salvation and as a part of our being made holy, our sanctification. So let us take this into account as we synergize, as we cooperate with the Creator of the universe and submit our wills to Him for the salvation of our souls and the purification of our hearts. So Lord God bless you. Lord willing, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.